Nigeria's electricity tariffs will increase in coming months, according to Olu Verheijen, special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on energy. And speaking at the Africa Heads of State Energy Summit in Tanzania, Verheijen said tariffs must rise by about 66% to reflect the actual cost of electricity supply. She emphasized the need for a balance between higher tariffs and subsidies for low-income consumers. The move aims to improve power reliability, attract private investment, and boost infrastructure. Verheijen noted that Nigeria currently transmits only 80 gigawatts out of 14 gigawatts installed, with just 4 to 5 gigawatts reaching consumers. She stressed that energy reforms are critical to achieving Nigeria's goal of a $1 trillion economy. And for context, we're joined by Niyi Duale, founding partner Duale Ovia, and Alex Adedipe law firm. Good evening, glad to have you join me on the news.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right.
Hi, good evening.
All right, good evening.
Thank you for having me.
All right, how do you think this 66% tariff increase will impact consumers, particularly now for low-income households and businesses?
So I think that it's very important that we understand something, especially what's going on in Nigeria. I mean, apart from inflation and every other thing that is spiraling out of effect, one of the things that is important to know that the percentage that they are basically increasing to, I mean, will definitely impact on energy affordability, especially in terms of the low-income households, businesses, commercial activity, right? But I also think that it's important for us to understand it. Is this something that has to be done? It definitely has to be done, right? Because the fact is, energy tariff, they need to be cost reflective in the sense that it's a very capital extensive industry. So essentially what you're saying is that you want people to basically come into that place, put in money, and to be able to do their investments. Nobody is going to put in money into an industry whereby they're not able to do their investment. So in all honesty, I think that what the government is doing, even though it has not been announced by NEC, is something that at least will give some comfort for people who want to invest in that industry.
Well, I know you talked about. I know you're talking about the need for investments in that sector, but then do you think these are justifications valid enough and sufficient to warrant such substantial price increase in tariffs? So
yes, the information has come from someone who works with the president. But again, I'm going to put a caveat that it's still supposed to come from NEC, not from where it has come from. However, is there a justification for that? In a way, I think there is that justification. But do I think that it will get up to that amount eventually? Probably not. But if we're going to be factual, especially with regards to businesses, right, it's important to know that electricity tariffs need to generate enough revenue so that it can attract a significant amount of private capital. Like I mentioned before, the electricity sector is extremely capital extensive. So you want people who are coming in who know that, oh, you know what, if I put in money here, I'm going to be able to recoup. I want a return on investment. So in all honesty, right now, with the way things are, I'm not sure that we will have as much investors coming into the country. But again, with this, I think it's something that would change the game.
But then let's talk about the government for a moment now. What do you think the government's role can be or can play in mitigating the impact of this price hike on consumers?
Okay. So the first thing is, some will say that should government provide subsidies? I think that the biggest problem with subsidies in Nigeria is, we saw it in the oil industry, is that how do you ensure that the subsidies actually go to the people who should be getting, right? But again, I think there's a lot being done. Again, with the new Electricity Act, also the fact that electricity has also been deregulated, so to speak. What do I mean by that? State governments are now in charge of their various states. So essentially, whatever each state needs to do, in relation to electricity, to provide whatever sort of subsidy that will be done, essentially to those low-income households, businesses that require it, and ensure that whatever they are doing in terms of getting proper investments, ensuring that, I'll give you a typical example. You have a situation whereby in different areas, let's use Yaba as an example, or maybe Makoko. In terms of what is going on there, some will say that by the time they increase the power and the tariffs, people won't be able to pay. But the truth about it is that, like I mentioned, because it is a capital extensive industry or sector, what you want is that you want people who can actually afford to pay for that power to basically be the ones who will get enough power to basically run their commercial activity. So the truth about it is that what government needs to do is to ensure that their tariff, whatever tariff is being applied, by tariff, I mean by the methodologies, that it is not too exorbitant. Consumers can actually pay for it and ensure that the electricity companies don't take advantage of the consumers.
Now, following your line of thoughts, just to reference what happened during the implementation of the band A, B, and C, where we've seen people who did not even sign up to be in any band transferred to the band A. So my question really is, now how can we balance the need to attract private investors into the sector and also ensuring power supply is affordable to the average Nigerian already grappling with a lot financially?
It goes back to that's the initial conversation, that the initial question, which is more like, would there be subsidies? I'm not certain that at this point it's more of subsidies, but I see that what government is also trying to do. I read in papers a few days ago that there was something that was signed by the government in relations with REA, essentially trying to provide more electricity through other means, through mini grids, to basically ensure that those areas that don't have enough electricity can have electricity. I think that is that's been well considered by the government. I also think that in relation to the Electricity Act of 2023, which basically allows each state to take care of their respective electricity markets, what that now does is that it will ensure that transmission infrastructure, which basically is in a very bad state, becomes more decentralized. You have concessions that are given for new transmission infrastructures, and then you have new entrants who can basically come in and ensure that it's cost reflective.